got one question for you. When it's all said and done, all right, and the league gets to 24 teams and however many different nations are represented, will we have a team in London?
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Base Coverage presented to you by our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. I'm your host, Jamal Clay. And as always, before we get this thing started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, like the video, share with a friend, and let's continue this conversation and talk some ELF ball, especially as we're getting closer to the season. We got imports reporting within a few days now, and full training camp is going to start heading into May, and we're going to be eventually 1 month closer to week 1 in the ELF, year 3 of the ELF. Today, I got a fun one. I wanted to pick this guy's brain a little bit. Obviously, with the league, to get to 24 teams within the next couple of years, Paris was the first most anticipated team that everybody wanted to see. The league gave us that. That next city is London. Everybody wants a team in London, rightfully so. I think it'll be great to have a team in London as well. This guy I'm bringing in today, he's a Euro Scout. He breaks down players from all different levels, and we're going to build the London football team. We're going to talk about the potential of what this team could look like with homegrown talent, potential imports, how they would fare if they were in the league this year. And it's going to be some great conversation I'm excited to talk about. That guy I'm bringing in today is Matt Bressington, and I'm excited to have him on. So before we welcome him to the show, here's a quick word from our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. So welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, like a video. Definitely share this with a friend. And for this show especially, I want everyone to, chime in a little bit because this one's going to get a little interesting. So today, I'm bringing in, my guy, Matt Bressington, who is, a European scout, so to say. He knows guys in and out on all 3 levels. He definitely puts the work in. And, earlier this offseason, he did a little project about what the London football team could potentially look like. And I was like, you know what? That's something that we got to talk about on Base Coverage. So I'm bringing him on to chop it up a little bit. So, Matt, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm not too bad. Appreciate you you having me on. It's been a long time coming. We've been negotiating this one for a while.
Yeah.
And the London team took a long time, so I'm happy to kind of be talking about it to the audience and kind of explain my thought process behind different things and the kind of ways that I would go in terms of navigating that franchise.
Most definitely. Now, before we dive into all this, why don't you give people a little bit of a quick background of, your work and what you do and, how you got to where you are right now in terms of where you are in scouting talent in Europe.
Yeah, so I'm 23. I've been scouting since I was about 18. Played in the UK for a few years in SGS and in SGS Pride, and then played under 19 GB. And then I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm not good enough to play pro. I'm just gonna start doing some front office stuff. I'm not that crazy athlete. I'm a corner that runs like a 5 something, so it's just not gonna happen in terms of me going to Europe.
Zone corner. We'll leave you in zone.
Yeah, definitely a zone corner. I'm 6'2", 6'3", about 200. So maybe now, but definitely not then. But so went into kind of some ideas. I like writing, and then Europe's Elite posts like a thing. Caleb Leach, he's now a scout for the Carolina Panthers. He's been like a huge mentor for me through the whole process. But he is the owner of Europe's Elite, and one of the owners of Europe's Elite. That was Evan Harrington, who I also owe a lot to, and they were looking for people just to do breakdowns on players, and I was like, sounds good. I want to do that. Started doing that for a while, met Caleb in Copenhagen, helped out with a camp or 2. And then things just started going up. I was like, I want to get into coaching. Day later, a university near me posted an ad for coaching, like a DB coordinator, which, I was a DB. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like fate to me. Literally the day after I mentioned it, thing comes up. So I'm like, yep. Got on that, did that for a couple of years. And then talked to Dan Meyer, the head coach of UE. He just won the national championship. We've it's one of the best teams in the UK, just full stop, regardless of league. And I was like, yeah, I want to get into scouting and stuff. Because, well, come to UE and, join the coaching staff. So I did that. This year we went undefeated, won the championship. We won a game 106-0, which was different. Yeah, yeah. If you haven't watched the final was really good, really back and forth with Nottingham. It's a bit of a rivalry. A lot of drama behind the scenes with those two clubs. But yeah, so and then while I was doing this, I was scouting for trying to get my repertoire out and trying to send some stuff to some teams, trying to work with some different teams. So I've been doing that. I kind of worked a little bit with Milan for a couple of months, about 8 months. I was doing some stuff with Milan. My friend Daniel is the DC of Vienna Vikings. So I sent him a couple, not Vienna Vikings, the Dragons. Yeah. So sent him a couple players, and we're good friends and stuff. And I've been, just around football constantly every day for about 5 years. And obviously you've seen my practices, my breakdowns, and I'm very thorough with everything that I go through. So, and I also got my Elite Brain page where I just do a little edits, and I just kind of that's my time off of football scouting. It's just editing. So
yeah. You definitely have the resume, my friend. That's definitely nothing to shy away from. And if you're not following this guy on Twitter, definitely follow him now. We'll post his tag below. Hey, let's kick it off, man. So the league, announced a couple of days ago they're doing their kickoff show on May 19th, and they surprised us last year with 3 new teams that I don't think anybody really expected them to. We're obviously bringing in the Enthroners, the Seamen, and then the Helvetic Guards. All right. And, we're heading to that point where, we're getting closer and closer to the final count of 24. Right.
Yeah.
Even over the first 2 years, Paris was the most anticipated team in terms of everybody wanted the club there. The league gave us a club there ultimately. That new city is London. Everybody wants a team in London. I think rightfully so. I think London definitely deserves a team. I think they deserve to be in the final 24 when it's all said and done. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, what happens in that aspect of it. But May 19th, I'm definitely going to be tuned in. So
yeah, again, absolutely.
We had mentioned it before. You did a little exercise where if the London football team, and we're going to call them the London football team for the show, if they were to build a team, who are the potential homegrown guys that they have? And I found that very interesting. So before we dive into the roster, talk to me a little about the strategy approach you went with building this team.
Yes. So I got my notes in here, so I'm looking the other way. But so the first thing we got to sort out is the inter-country politics of everything. Everyone's going to want to be head coach. Everyone's going to want to have their guys come in and be the DC and OC. So we just got to have American head coach that can pick from the best people that he likes.
Yeah.
So you have the best chance for success. Because people in the UK, everyone wants to be the head coach. So we'll have to sort that out. DC and OC, same situation. BAFA and Bucks, I think, need a restructuring. So Bucks is the British American football section in university. We need a national prem because UE and Nottingham would be blowing through teams. The South is really weak, and it's only got 2 teams that are really good. We won 106-0 in the season, and that was a team that made the playoffs. So we beat 106-0. So we need a national prem. So all the best teams play everyone rather than North v South. That's the first thing. BAFA is a lot of people that don't like BAFA. Some people do, some people don't. But the overall thing for me is they need an 11v11 under 19. We're one of the only countries that don't have 11v11. Some people say we don't have the money, some people don't have the players, some people don't have this, some people don't have that. But when there's like 5 clubs in like a 1-mile radius, just join clubs together.
Yeah.
Remove the petty rivalries and the politics, like I mentioned earlier, and just join clubs and make an 11v11 under 19. I'm sick and tired of watching 7v7 under 19. It's not real football. The next thing is the location of the team. So London is the most popular place and it's a marketable place. But some people want it in Birmingham because it'd be cheaper to operate, easier flights in and out. Some people want it in Manchester because they're the people that won the men's senior. And everyone wants it in different places. But I think London is the clear and obvious choice because, it's marketable. It's London, isn't it? It's the big place to go. You'd have to have, I think, a cool idea would be to locate the players in Loughborough, like the NFL Academy have done, where they got Olympic level gyms. I've been to the Loughborough facilities in the NFL Academy. It's amazing. They got cryo chambers and 24-rack gyms and stuff. And also it's cheaper to live up north. And then play in London, I think would be a good place to start. Home stadium is always going to be a thing. You've got Spurs, who have the NFL games on the Hotspur Stadium. It's expensive, but they've got the infrastructure. There's also 62,000 people. So it's a big stadium that they probably won't be able to fill. Other place in London, like the Saracens Park, that's 10,000 people. It's cheaper, but there's no infrastructure. That's a rugby field. Brentford, 17,000, so kind of that middle range. Again, no infrastructure. It's expensive to rent. So I think that investor is going to be a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
Either from like ex-NFL guys that have something in the team because I didn't work with a budget in this team and I just went full for it. Or like, so the government aren't going to fund it because I don't think they'll see it as profitable. And then like someone coming in and just spending money is always going to be the big thing that they need. And if we don't do that, then they're not going to have the proper housing. They're going to cheap out on player contracts. People aren't going to be happy, and we'll have a situation that is just going to fall apart in like 1 year.
Yeah.
So I think just having an investor to sort all these things out, get American people in, just to pick the best coaches on merit rather than opinion.
Yeah.
And get a home stadium, which I think is super important, because if you can fill a seat with 10,000 people in, that's going to be profitable for a season. Because obviously we have NFL games here, so we should be able to fill a stadium of decent size. So I think that's how I would start with the plan.
Yeah, and I think there's an appetite in London for football. Obviously, you see when NFL comes to town, and I mean, you live out there, so you know better than me. But I think there would be an appetite if there was an ELF team out there to spark some interest and maybe a team that leaves the BS out the way, and that could get strict to football. Let's start with my quick thoughts when looking at the team that you built. 3 things I wrote: a strong running back room, an experienced offensive line, and a skilled linebacker group.
Yeah,
is what I noticed. Let's talk about offense first. All right, and let's talk with one quarterback you have out there that does have ELF experience and play for the Berlin Thunder, Calvin Stitt. So talk a little about him and the quarterback room that you would put together.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Stitt, he didn't have the most success in ELF, and he is red listed at the moment, so it might take a little bit to get him in the room. But I think that he is a controversial one. But I think that he has ELF experience. He played American high school. We played together, me and him, so I know him a little bit personally. He played in Italy, he played in the UK. He stayed active. He looks good on social media with the workouts and stuff. He, I think, would be one of the better backups in the league behind Cisse at Hamburg. I mean, they kind of offer similar skill sets as well as a Russian QB. He's also a lefty. So if you chuck him in randomly, like random 3rd and 1 plays, and as a Russian QB, he's also a lefty and it's shorter or bigger than the dude we brought in, that's going to confuse the defense. So I think that he could also act as a mentor. He's a little bit older. He's got the experience, like you said, and he could kind of sit with the other 2 guys, Josh Ellsbrook and Justin Glowacz, who will have behind him. Both in America at the moment. Josh has just went to a D3 school in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Justin went to a D1 school, and they both offer different skill sets. Glowacz is, a bit more of a touch passer, a bit more accurate. Ellsbrook has a better arm, and he's more of a physical runner. Like I've seen him run, and he just puts his head down and goes straight through people. As a QB, that's not easy to find. So they could be kind of groomed for that next positional role, kind of develop the talent of the UK even more. And I think Glowacz, Justin, has a really, really high ceiling. I think he could be a legit starter after a couple of years because he's at Peru State, I believe, at the moment.
Yeah.
He definitely has potential. He's at D1 school. A lot of people never get that opportunity. So I think that he would be a player that I would like to see develop in terms of that talent.
Most definitely. And I think having depth is huge, right? And it's looking at his roster, there's definitely a lot, not including, the EUs and the Americans that they would potentially bring on. As we transition to like the skill position, as I mentioned before, I see a strong running back room. When you look at the skill position, running backs, tight ends, and receivers, I see a team that, is going to be able to pound the rock, but are they going to be enough? Are they going to be able to do enough in the passing game to expand their offense? If this was potentially the team, who are some of the guys we could look out for outside of obviously a Glenn Tucker, a Tyrese Johnson Fisher, who are in the running back room, along with some other guys.
Dwayne Obi's in there as well, Andrew Wusu too. Dwayne Obi's huge. He's like 6'1", 240.
He's a big body.
Yeah,
he's a big body. Who are some of the guys, at least on the outside, whether it's tight end or receivers that, we should maybe take notice of that may be a difference maker in the passing game? I see you got Tommy Wilson up there.
Yeah, I got Tommy Wilson in there. I mean, he ran like a 4.2 something or a
I heard that,
4.3
yeah.
something. So, I mean, the speed is there. I just think he needs the experience. He joined the Monarchs this year, so hopefully he can get a little bit more game reps. But he's played for like a year. Like the Oxford Saints was his first time playing, and he torched people. So
Yeah.
I think in terms of other weapons, again, I didn't work with a budget on this one, so I just kind of went for it. So Seydou Traore is the obvious player that comes into mind. Colorado tight end at the moment. Most likely he's going to go to the NFL, whether that be a practice squad or like, a drafted player, developing how he comes through. Tommy Wilson's in there. We've got people like Wedderburn who have ELF experience, GFL experience. There's also a guy called Devontae Reed. He plays at D3 school, I think Trinity.
Okay.
He was born in London. I'm not sure if he is British. Like, I don't know if he went over there for high school or something. I have to do a bit more into him. From what I could find, he is just born in America, so we might count as an American. But he's had like 1,000 yards in every season. He's a team captain at D3 school, so he could even be an option. The big like thing in the team is speed. That we aren't a big team. I think Wedderburn is the tallest, but that's quite a regular thing in ELF. Like there are not very many deep threats. The tallest players being like Malik Stanley, Reese Horn, players that can kind of like open that up. So I think the game is built for speed at the moment, especially with these tight ends. They're big. Henry Rowland's good, good young talent. Sean Cook can do everywhere: fullback, long snapper, tight end. Matt, who went to Akron, I think he's kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of like media presence, so not many people can find him. But, 6'4" 250, so like he can block probably. I'm assuming I'm going to put him as a block and roll anyway. I think if I was to get in the American, it would be a receiver and it would be a big body. It would be someone 6'4", 6'5", 215, 220, just to be that that option outside, because the running backs that I have, although they're stacked in their rushing ability, none of them are like standout pass catchers.
Yeah.
They'll have capabilities, but they're not all of, I agree with you in that I would need that American receiver just to come in and anchor it. Maybe a bigger threat like a Reese Horn or a Malik Stanley.
Yeah. I think looking at the running back room, I think one type of back London would be missing, judging off these guys. And we're going to post, pictures, and we're going to post the roster throughout this video for you guys to take a look at. And I'll also retweet the rosters because I think this was done back in February when you made the team. But I think the one type of back they will be looking for would be like a scat back, somebody like on third down screens, could get out in the pass game. But yeah, looking at the receiving threats, I think a big body number one would be definitely a big upgrade at that position. And obviously with the speed, you can work a lot of guys in the slot, but also depends on the offense and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
When I look at your offensive line, and this is just a black and white question, right? So I look at your offensive line, we got guys like Keanu Ebix, Connor Bolton, Thomas Lewis. We got my man Toby, the big fella who's now with the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Just those four guys alone, right? And you probably have somebody at center. Would this be the best offensive line or best group of homegrown players at one position in the ELF this year?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the center, Matt, starting with start center, move outside. Vienna Vikings center, champion of the league, Scottish dude. He's in the middle. And then guards, you got Lewis Thomas. The last two teams he's led from the guard have led the league in rushing. He was also Glenn Tonga's guard with Hamburg. So
now playing for the Milan this
year.
season.
So he's excellent. Connor Bolton, you got who's at the Inthroners. You got Lawrence, who's at the Berlin Thunder. You got Bam, who's Bam. He's was with the Raiders. Yeah, he's huge. He's massive. You got Toby Letman, who's now with he was with the Raiders. He's now with Vienna. Or no, the other way around. He was with Vienna, now he's with the Raiders. You got Ben Burgess, who's just signed with the Monarchs, who is, a young, talented guy. Harry Sayer, just signed with Milan. And I left a couple people off. There's some other people that I could include, but this is just, it's a crazy depth, like you said. I think that Ebanks as well, CFL player. So I think that it's brilliant. Some of these guys wouldn't even start.
And this is a position group in Europe, I think, is very slim. Like, there's not like a lot of great quality offensive line. And if there are, then obviously, they're signed playing elsewhere, or, they were more on the older end and on the back part of their career. So, looking at this offensive line, potentially you got youth, you got depth, you got experience. So this would definitely be I agree with you. This would definitely be one position group or the one team to have like a bunch of homegrown talent. That's probably one of the best in Europe.
Yeah.
Let's switch to the defensive side.